What does it take to drive innovation and scale groundbreaking ideas in today's digital-first world? Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Extra AI, your go-to podcast series where we dive deep into the intersection of AI and business transformation. I'm your host, AI Raghu, and today we have a truly special guest joining us for an insightful conversation. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Prasanna Kumar, the visionary CEO of AXIOM'IO, a company at the forefront of enabling digital transformation for independent software vendors, or ISVs. Prasanna brings a wealth of experience and a deep passion for helping startups navigate the challenging journey from concept to scale, leveraging cutting-edge technology and innovative strategies. In today's episode, we'll explore how AXIOM'IO empowers ISVs with end-to-end support, their unique value proposition in a competitive digital landscape, and how business and technology seamlessly intertwine to create meaningful differentiation. Prasanna, it's an honor to have you with us. Welcome to Extra AI. As always, you will find more information at the end of the podcast. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast. All right, welcome back to another episode of Extra AI. And today we are going to have an interesting conversation with the CEO of AXIOM'IO, focused on a journey from concept to scale. Welcome on board, Prasanna.
Yeah, thanks, Raghu. Thanks for having me here. Thank you.
All right, so let's get started. So maybe I will. I know, Prasanna, before we dive into the Axiom success story and a few other things and talk about how you guys are scaling, I would like to first, can you provide a brief personal or a professional background about your pathway into this digital transformation and AI? So something like that in that aspect, and maybe a project experience or a personal experience, Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to sum up what I am today, it has two phases to it. Like in the first phase of my career, I'm a IT professional. So, and then, I did a 10-year, a decade of work in companies like Wipro and worked for companies like Ericsson and Nokia in the telecom division. So that has been a 10-year stint. And always that during these days, we were always been thinking that tech changing the world, because these were the days, late 90s and early of this century, wherein we are talking about internet mobile revolution, and we were thinking all that. And my second phase of my life is more of entrepreneur. So I have joined my family business, to take it to a more organized and to scale the organization and all of that. So I have headed a athleisure business, wherein we have created a brand and retail and all of that. So I also carry a rich 10 years of experience, in scaling a medium enterprise, to a scale. And now why I come back to IT again is because, so while I see both phases of technology and business, I see there is a need, because I've faced the challenges of scaling business using technology. Because like what I was thinking in my first phase, that technology adoption should be easy. But when I look at from the business perspective, it's way too difficult because of so many challenges, which we'll discuss during this. And that's when I thought technology, which is my core professional expertise, which I wanted to bring to the medium scale businesses and help them scale to a global extent. So that's has been my passion now.
Beautiful. It's fascinating that how AI can take everyday processes and fundamentally reshape them. So maybe I think before we get into the real nitty-gritty details about what Axiom is, but could you briefly talk about how AXIOM'IO is harnessing that power to help ISV startups, right? I think maybe a brief background about how you got into AXIOM'IO and how AXIOM'IO is harnessing that power to help ISV startup.
Yeah, that's an interesting background I have here, because after I was coming back from my entrepreneur stint and where I wanted to come into the technology domain. So my first thing was, what is that? Where do I start?
Right.
So that is when I heard about AI. That is when I thought, this is something exciting because mathematics being my fundamental subject, was more keen because all these models and more of statistical and mathematical models to train on all of that. And then I did my PG diploma in Triple IT Hyderabad, which is one of the pioneering institutions in the AI field. And after doing a 1 year of course, then I thought this is where I'll start. And then when I was trying to get into the business part of it, then one of companies, which was in the cloud space, gave me an opening saying that, we are in this space and we would want to really excel in this space, and AI is something which we want to do a little later. So I thought, see, whatever opportunity comes in a way. So I started with them because they are of a medium enterprise and like how I wanted to scale. So I thought, why not, start with
Right.
that. But luckily for me, I understood is that, for AI to be excelling, so there are two fundamental prerequisite. One is cloud, the storage, the compute power that it brings in for AIs, to really excel. And then second is the data part. And I think AXIOM'IO was doing the cloud computing and data part, so which is very fundamental, to really use AI. So I felt
Right.
it was more exciting to have started this way.
Yeah, I think you beautifully said about the pillars for AI starts with data and cloud, obviously, and that being this is where AXIOM'IO coming in. I think obviously it paved the way for you guys to get into this.
Yes.
Great. Before we take a break and come back into the main conversation, I know all of us have been following what's happening in the last 2 years, right? With the advancement of generative AI, a lot of things are changing at a rapidly fast pace. Could
Right.
you could you sow in some thoughts about these upcoming AI advancements in the current world and how that is going to impact the ISP market?
Yeah, traditionally, there were few areas which were challenging for businesses. I mean, because especially I being run a business, I also understand, where we need support of technology. But then
Right.
still there were limitations in terms of generating the content, especially for the marketing and sales for the businesses. And also, especially in terms of data analytics that we need in the businesses to, take decisions. So these were few areas which were like technology was playing a limited role in the past.
Right.
But today, what we see is a disruption, the disruption to an extent of human intelligence being augmented by a machine. And therefore, we are becoming doubly powerful, in terms of doing things. And especially if I look at my way back, my fashion industry. Earlier, we were doing photo shoots, to display our apparel and all of that. Today is able to do that. Now, today, for us in the fashion industry, from the concept to the ramp walk is all done by AI. Today,
Right.
if I think of a garment, so I don't need to make it, I don't need to sample it, I don't need to shoot it, I don't need to do a fashion show for it, but I can think everything, AI can do it, and we are straight away seeing everything, in front of us just in a matter of days, which has been a 6 months effort otherwise, for us, as an example. Yeah.
Right. I think that's a great example or the great analogy that you have provided. Let's take a
Yeah.
quick break. Maybe we'll come back and get into the details about how AXIOM.io is helping out the ISP.
Sure.
So, coming back to this, Prasanna, so from your perspective, before we get into AXIOM.io offerings and other things, from your perspective, I would first like to understand what are the most common challenges the ISPs or the ISP startups face, especially when scaling from their operations from a smaller pace to a bigger pace. I think, and how do you address these? What are the most common challenges, and then how are you trying to address these things?
Mm. So I think in this world today, I mean, especially in a wherein we are seeing this technology disruption in AI. So ISVs today are facing twofold challenges. One is to ensure that their coding and development, how do they augment with the AI generated code and how fast they can, develop their
Mhm.
systems and softwares. And that I will not talk much because that is not a core area where we are supporting them. But the second part is about the deployment, delivery and the deployments. So wherein they're facing a lot of challenges because there is a demand from customers because they want a SaaS based, models, there is a product led models, and all of these needs a different thought process because it is now more about having a great idea,
Right.
but how is this great idea delivered and how is this great idea deployed for the customers, and whether the consumption of that idea is eased, using the latest technologies. So that is where
Mhm.
AXIOM'IO comes into the picture, because today we tell ISVs that you don't just start with an idea. Idea is
Mhm.
great. There are so many ideas, and but if the idea has to be successful, the idea has to be thought as with the same parlance as scale. So they have to think about the scale, they have to think about the security of it, they have to think about the resilience of their idea. And these are not the
Mhm.
core aspects of the startup, because they always think that what is that product I'll make, what are the features that I'm going to make, but what about these deployment and delivery issues. So this is where Axiom comes in and says, yes, you can focus on the innovation part of it, you can focus on the differentiated aspects of your startup idea, but these other undifferentiated aspects are still very important for the customers because their opex, their latencies, their budgets are all into stake, and therefore they do not want to compromise on any of these aspects while deploying your startup idea. So that's where Axiom comes and starts helping them with those challenges.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think you laid it out very well that you do not want to get into the code or the low code, no code space, but rather you want to go more on the deployment and delivery aspect, which is where Axiom.io can play a bigger role for these ISPs.
Yes.
Let's now dig a bit more deeper into the offerings from Axiom.io. So I think again, before going into the offerings of Axiom.io, maybe at a high level, could you explain about what Axiom.io stands for, your vision, your mission, and then maybe you could also explain about Axiom.io's offerings and how does Axiom.io support these different ISP startups from basically concept to scale. And maybe you could also uh, walk us through the key phases where your company would step
Yeah, first I would answer the last part of it. How do we
in.
help ISVs, and where do we get involved, and when we get involved? So ISVs, we recommend that ISVs take a technology partner along with them from day one.
Okay.
But sometimes it is impractical for them to start with us or any providers like us, on the day one, because I understand they are still looking to raise funds, and they are still, doing the POC of their ideas and all that. So ideally, after working with few ISVs, we have said that the best time to start with a technology partner is after a Series A round of funding, because
Mhm.
that when the real investor comes into the play, that is when the acceleration has to be faster. That is when we have to meet the customer demands faster. So we say the best time to involve technology partner is after a Series A round of funding, because that is where we'll bring in our uh, thought process. That is where we will help you to accelerate fast. So we will tell you how to sassify your idea. We will tell you how
Mhm.
to the PLG model there. We'll tell you the DevOps pipelines to be built so there is no interruption. So where we'll take care of the resiliency aspects and all of these aspects. We try to bundle it along with their product delivery so that the customers acceptance goes high, and they can
Mhm.
easily bring on customers on board very with ease and in a very fast pace. So that is the first place that we do. And then
Okay.
coming to step-by-step approach, how do we start with ISVs? Basically, we look at their vision and mission, because we are not the domain experts. We are not going to bring in our domain knowledge to them, but we ask
Mhm.
what is their vision for their idea and what is the mission that they are going to achieve. So that becomes our startup place. Then we try to define the infrastructure for them. We said, okay, if this is a vision and this is a mission you want to achieve, then we say what is the infrastructure you have to start with. Then we say what is the kind of models available for them in terms of delivery. We ask them whether they want to go SaaS way or they want to go on license way. They want to do a on-prem or a cloud kind of delivery models. So we ask various questions around that in a business sense. It's not about a technology sense. We ask how do you want to connect with your customer and all of that. And accordingly, we try to architecture the deployment things for them. And that's how we start with them.
Okay.
And then as the coding happens, we tell them that as part of the coding, because security is becoming very important these days, there are a lot of vulnerabilities. So there is something called DevSecOps we do. So right from the we define, what are the security aspects that they need to consider during the coding. Not that we are going to do coding for them, but then there are standards that we define for them. And therefore, in the CI/CD pipelines, we do put in some security aspects before the deployment happens. So few vulnerabilities can be checked at the coding level itself. So we keep guiding them on every step of the development process also, besides deployment and delivery. So that's how we work on this piece. And to the
Could you
other
go
question,
back?
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the other question about Axiom. So Axiom traditionally is a decade-old company. So we have been in the space of technology almost 10 plus years. So we have started with the digital workspaces. So we have been working with clients like Wipro, deploying a lot of digital workstations for them. And then we have been in the banking and finance sector, helping with a lot of digital spaces, digital workstations. And then we moved on as the technology progressed. The virtualization, VMware came into picture. Data centers started offering, servers instead of on-prem servers and all of that. That is when we moved on to the VMware thing, and we were helping a lot of data centers to create we used to provide the infrastructure as a solution service for all these data centers, and all of that. And then as the cloud came into picture, so we were one of the early adopters who have partnered with AWS in India. And today we speak, we are the advanced partners for AWS, offering all of their services for cloud in India. And then we have been offering all services right from the migration to the modernization of the applications, security and compliance aspect, the managed services aspect. So we take it end to end, cloud and security operations for the clients. That's what we do.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think let's say thanks for laying it out completely about the various steps where AXIOM.io would come into play when working with ISVs, and also kind of giving a very high level overview about AXIOM.io and also the offerings that you guys are providing. So I feel that AXIOM.io has carved out a strong niche in this market. But what would you say is your company's unique selling proposition? What sets you apart from other players in this digital transformation space? Would you like to talk a few words about it?
Yeah, one of the things that AXIOM.io is still trying to do is the cost part of it. So we are one of a very strong believer that in this technology disruption, one of the concerns for the business is the ROI. The technology investments have to translate to a proper ROI, besides anything else. So therefore, we are particularly conscious about what we are suggesting to the clients in terms of the infrastructure that they need to deploy. And not only about deployment, then we also work with them to see where it can be optimized. And then thirdly, we also look at automation. We say the day-to-day routine operations of managed services need not be done every day, and the cost need not be repeated. So we try to automate as many operations as possible. And as we speak today, we have developed a platform called XOps in Axiom for managed services of a multi-cloud. It's not just about one cloud, it's a multi-cloud managed services automated solution we have built, which reduces the cost around 30 to 40% for the clients, depending on the complexity and all of that. And that itself means a lot to them, because everybody has the idea to move to cloud, but then everybody are also concerned about the cost part of it. And that is where Axiom also eases the process and helps them use the technology optimally and cost effectively and also securely.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. So let me now divert a bit and go into the aspects of so many advancements happening in AI and cloud computing and a lot of these digital tools out there. How does AXIOM.io stay ahead of the curve when you are delivering the cutting edge solutions to your clients and to your customers and ISVs?
Yeah, I think everybody wants to be a AI ready company. So
Right.
now the question is, how is this possible? Do we understand whether we have the required prerequisites even to attempt an AI-driven company? So
Mhm.
we start with saying that let's prepare the company to be AI, implementation ready first, rather than becoming AI
Right.
ready. So we say that we say there are few things. We talk about data governance. First of all, because AI fundamentally needs data to be organized, data to be in a proper shape before they can deploy. So we help clients to prepare that part. That is one area where we help enterprises to become data ready so that they can use AI. And second part is that today the service providers, the hyperscalers that we are working with, whether it is
Mhm.
AWS or Azure, including GCP, so they are offering a lot of AI services on their platform itself. So it is
Mhm.
not we have to generate from scratch the models. So there are already LLMs that they have deployed. They have already open services which we can use. So Axiom, as being a partner to these hyperscalers, so we keep ourselves up to date with these services that they are offering. And to
Mhm.
the clients, we help them modernize their applications to use these AI services and quickly, do a POCs, for the use cases they bring onto the board. And therefore, we show them, what is possible with AI, ML. So we only not talk about the generative AI aspects, which are B2C models. We also talk about generative BI, which is a B2B model, which has to do with dynamic dashboarding and dynamic decision making intelligence and all of that. So that's how we help the clients.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I like the aspect that you guys are always ahead of the curve, trying to stay focused with all these services that are provided by the hyperscalers. And of course, there's a lot happening out there. Let's get into this now. Interesting question, I would say, because for you, when you explained about your background, you started in the technology field, went to the business field, and came back to the technology field. So, in today's digital era, this is where both the business and technology are now getting more and more interconnected than ever in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, this will make it much more so. How do you see these two, how do you see these two forces working together to create the differentiation that can be for the companies, and how do you suggest the companies or the businesses to start when they are building their digital transformation strategy?
Yeah. So I think today, I think after 20 years, from where we started in this space, of technology, we see that today businesses and technology are very much intertwined. So it's very
Mhm.
difficult to separate them and see, because today, if we talk about business differentiation, then there is definitely the role of technology in that differentiation. So the companies who have not adopted technology are left behind based on what we see, and the early adopters of technology has really flourished, and there are
Mhm.
businesses which are shut down just because they have not opted into the technology in the right time. So therefore today we cannot separate these two. But now what we look at, the challenge is that how quickly they can adopt the technology,
Right.
because business in itself is uh, a different ball game, and they have overwhelming challenges in their own running their own businesses. But now
Mhm.
catching up with the technology is something, one more challenge got added to them, because the technology, the way it is evolving, the pace of technology is too fast. And the businesses to catch up to that kind of pace, is something a very big challenge for them. So therefore,
Mhm.
we how we start with businesses is that we start saying that not to uh, go with the technology because it is out there. We say businesses have to be more realistic because they have to work on their ROIs, their investments, and all of that. We say so. We ask the question to them, what is their vision again? Like we
Mhm.
do with ISVs. Then we say, what is that you want to achieve in the next 5 years? What is that you want to do with your customers? What is your customers looking at differentiation from you? So
Right.
then once we understand these aspects of their domains and all of that, then we suggest which technologies are relevant to them. Then we try to adapt those technologies to them. Depending on their investments, we try to suggest enterprise scale applications. We also suggest a medium scale application depending on the type of the organization that we are working with. Because we always caution them that don't adopt a technology without getting the organization ready for it, and don't just jump on that. So rather we give a precautionary approach, but then again, we also tell them the opportunities. We also explain them what a technology can do to them. We always keep them abreast of, how a technology can change a particular idea or what it is relevant to them. And if they want to adopt it, they always have a choice. So that is how business and technology, has to play together, and that we play a role of advocacy on from both sides.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, could you maybe highlight this by explaining or providing an example where AXIOM.io seamlessly was able to integrate the business strategy with technology to achieve the significant results for a particular company? We don't need to talk for the names of the companies for confidentiality purposes, but if you could highlight an example end to end how AXIOM.io has helped in this process, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think I can quote you one example from a company enterprise in London. So because this is a generation enterprise, dealing in the financial markets. So basically
Right.
they were bond traders, they used to like trade government bonds, across the banks and all of that. So they had a basic legacy application with them, and they used to deploy this application, on their servers and also on the on-prem of the traders and all of that. So which are all separate. So so that kind of platform, they always had challenges because the markets have evolved too fast now, and the pace of financial trading has gone to exponential, and these applications were not able to caught up. So every time they had a downtime, especially the crucial trading times, the systems were getting down because of some legacy issues and all of that. So then we spoke to them. We said, what is that you want to do? They said that we want to be up to date with the current markets, and we want to meet the customer demand with zero downtime, and always up to date analysis, and with foresight of what will happen in the coming days for thing, and whatever insights they have, the customers wanted to see on a real time scale. So we took up this project. So we took up the cloud migration for them. We modernized their legacy applications. So we helped them onboard to AWS. So we have integrated all the traders, to operate from a SaaS model, So there is no more legacy applications sitting on each machines running on different versions and causing all the integrity issues and all of that. So all of this culminated into a beautiful single SaaS model where everything was happening in real time without any disruption, and therefore they were very happy. They were able to grow their business very fast, and today, as we speak, they are still with us and growing good. And we are very happy to have such clients, and we are very happy with what we have done for them.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's a great piece of example that you have provided, and that's a great testimonial from one of your clients, I believe. So this takes me to an interesting question. I would say as part of the podcast, I always come up with one important question, or the $1,000,000 or the $1,000,000,000 question. That's what I say. That's what I ask my guests, saying, what is the differentiation factor? I know this is a very crowded space and there's a lot of competition out there. You did carve out a niche for you, but if you have to tell in one word or one sentence or one phrase, or you want to explain it, what is that differentiation factor from your competition?
Yeah, I think the technology, if we look at, predominantly has been with the Fortune 500 companies and the larger system integrators, providing them with the kind of solutions that a real business would need. And these are the early adopters, and these are the players who help them adopt these technologies faster and, make it more realistic. But there is a completely left out businesses outside this Fortune 500, who are still trying to catch up with these technologies, who still want to grow like them, and who also want to become unicorns and all of that. So we have said to ourselves, while of course, for these larger system integration and these larger enterprises, since they are very clear about where they are heading, what technology they want to adopt at what pace and all of that. So we provide individual services to them, but our pattern is more towards providing solutions. So we said we combined a solution. We provide a consulting to medium enterprises. Our passion is towards startup ISVs. We want to help them with the technology so that they also become larger enterprises. And realistically, practically, system integrators, the larger system integrators do not have time for these guys, but somebody has to fill that gap because these are 70% of the industry, and therefore they are contributing a lot. So we feel that taking technology to them is our biggest passion, and that is our $1 million thing that we want to do with them, and that becomes our $1 million differentiation also.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I know that's interesting. Take. I think I like the conversation. I know this is we've talked about some of the key discussion points about how you are helping out the ISVs scale from the concepts that they have created. And of course, we also discussed about a few things that you as AXIOM'IO are helping out in these digital business transformation for the clients and the customers that you are dealing with. If you want to pick and choose the next 5 years, I think what will be your focus area with all this AI and generative AI? With all the hype, I shouldn't say hype, but with all the buzz going on around, what do you think will be the main focus area? I think whether it is for AXIOM'IO or whether it is for the ISVs,
Yeah.
how do you take it?
I think AI has a major role to play in the enterprises, definitely. But then if you look at the enterprises or the businesses as a whole, they also are looking for ROI, as I said. But then when we say ROI, where does it start?
Right.
So there are two ways to start about this adoption of this AI. So we say while we have the overall strategy for the business to go AI ready, but then where do we start? That question we answer very with clarity. We say you start with the customer experience. You see what is that customer experience that you can differentiate with AI. I think that is where the generative AI has been playing a huge role, because the kind of use cases today we see are more of a B2C, and that's where the differentiation is starting with, and that is going to drive the next 5 years, because we are still experimenting how the customer experiences have to be reshaped and how well we can take care of them, all of that. And then slowly, if we move step little into the organization, then we see the sales and marketing guys again using the AI in terms of putting out the message to their customers, and taking help of the AI to create the content and all of that. I see the next majority of AI will be in this space before the AI gets into the organization. And the Fortune 500 companies are ahead of these things, and now they are also looking at AI to help them with the data analytics. So that is the third area that AI is going to play a huge role. And then obviously the internal co-pilots that all we are seeing today are going to improve the employee productivity. If I have to layer it like that, so that would be the 1, 2, 3, 4 things that AI will do in the next 4 years and 5 years, and that's where we see the AI is, developing more and more, and that's where we can play a role.
Beautiful. I think I was just about to bring up this aspect of co-pilots and the agentic workflows, things that are going on, because that's now becoming a big wave out there. And I believe I think your clients and customers might have already been asking a lot of questions about this.
So there are enterprise BC, at what stage of this growth scale they are in. So accordingly, we suggest if people are completely done with the customer experiences, if they are happy with the AI playing the role there, then we ask them whether the marketing and sales is doing the right job, using the AI tools that are available today. If they are good with that, then we say, what about your business intelligence and the data analytics part? Then if you're doing that as well, then we say, what is the employee productivity? Then again, we ask whether you are using AI there. So there is this tail of things that we keeps on happening. But yes, the maturity has come to that level that the co-pilots now also looking at the employee productivity of an organization.
Right. I think the future is very exciting. That's what I would say. I also had pleasure of having some very insightful discussion with you. I know we could discuss hours together on this interesting topic, but I would like to get to the close of our conversation. Any key takeaways or
key insights or closing remarks that you would like to provide to our audience? And also maybe if they would like to work with AXIOM'IO, or how do they reach out? Any
Yeah,
quick thoughts around that?
yeah. I can suggest three things. First is that technology adoption is no option anymore. I think you guys have to really take it seriously, for your own good. So therefore, we ask them, to look at ways and means to adopt technology and try to start the digital transformation as soon as possible. Or even if you have started, increase the pace of it, try to be as quick as possible because the world is not waiting out there for us. And then we say, while you're doing this, look at the data, because the world is going to be about data. It's not about applications anymore, because applications can be generated by AI again. So therefore, the importance is shifting towards data. So we try to suggest them and try to be a data-driven organization. Take data aspects and data governance aspects so seriously and start aligning your business data so well that it helps you in the future. And so the last point, what I wanted to tell is that adopt AI, but again, take your caution, because AI still is evolving. The responsible AI and the sustainable AI is very important. So I would say that adoption of AI is important, but then take due caution and invest intelligently, so that you look at the ROI part of it while adopting them. And still there is room, there's a time for it to adopt completely, but this is a time to do a POCs and validate use cases. So guys, technology, data, AI, I think these are the three things you need to take care.
Beautiful, beautiful. I like the way you put it. And of course, to reach out to AXIOM'IO, of course, you guys will be there to help any of the clients or customers who are willing to work with you.
Yes. Thanks, Raghu, for this opportunity to share the views of Axiom and our thoughts around helping this medium and ISVs enterprises, from end to end. Thanks once again.
Yeah. Great, and thanks for your time. It's great. It's a pleasure having this conversation.
Yeah, thanks. Same here. Bye.
All right, so let us wrap this episode by first thanking Prasanna, the CEO of AXIOM'IO, for joining us today and sharing his valuable insights into how AXIOM'IO is driving business transformations with special focus on cybersecurity and cloud security, etc. He also discussed about how they are helping the ISVs and the ISV startups in their journey. It's very clear that with your expertise and innovative approaches, you're making a significant impact in the industry, and we appreciate the time you have taken to walk us through your journey and vision. Of course, to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you found today's conversation as enlightening as we did. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions with leaders who are shaping the future of technology and business. As always, I will be tagging Mr. Prasanna on the LinkedIn post and tagging him, so that if you have any further questions, you can directly reach out to him. Alternatively, you can reach out to me, Raghu Banda, on LinkedIn, and I can put you in touch with Mr. Prasanna. You could also reach out to me on my other social media channels like Twitter, X, or Threads, on my handle, RK Banda. We also have our website, extraai.com, xtrawai.com, where you can find humongous amount of other interesting episodes and conversations that we have had. So feel free to listen in and provide us the feedback. I hope until next time, keep innovating and stay secure. Thank you all for joining the conversation today. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuned in from. Happy predicting the future with AI technologies. Thank you and bye-bye now. This is your host, Raghu Banda, signing.